Hi there, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining from in the world today. Welcome to Live with Leila. My name is Leila Singh and I'm a leadership, career and personal brand coach. My mission is to impact 100,000 people's career trajectory beyond what they thought possible. Why? Because I am passionate about helping you to realize what is truly possible for you when it comes to your career and your life. And how do I do this? Through harnessing your leadership potential. I coach high achieving, ambitious, and driven mid to senior level professionals, typically working in the technology industry for promotion, for peak performance, and a standout personal brand, all while showing up as the best version of yourself. And this is what I call life leadership. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you who is joining live today or on replay. If you're watching live, please do say hello in the comments so that I know you're joining live, and let me know where in the world you're joining from, which city perhaps that you are in. And if you're watching on replay, again, please hashtag replay in the comments and let me know where you're watching on replay from. Shah, hi there. Thanks for hopping on. Great to see you here. And I'm going to get started with today's topic, which is all about our limitations and how we can overcome our self-imposed limitations. So let me start by asking you a question. Are you feeling stuck, perhaps, or held back when it comes to your career, or maybe even inadequate, lacking in confidence as you strive to advance in your career? If so, then you're not alone. Why? Because many of us, in fact, all of us, will encounter these feelings at some level and at some point during our professional journey. And that's okay. But here's the hard truth. The biggest obstacle to your career success isn't your boss, it isn't your colleagues, it isn't your teammates. It actually is you. Now, that is a hard truth to swallow, and I get that. But the point here that I want to share with you today in this session is to kind of show you how much control and how much influence you have yourself on your own career. And, it's easy to kind of sit back and blame whether it's the economy, it could be the weather, it could be the latest government that we have in place, it could be the new leadership team at your employer, your organization, or new manager or new teammate, etc. Right, there's loads of either people or things that we can blame, other factors that are all outside of our control. So the question to slow down to and ask yourself is, what is in my influence? What is in my control here? What can I do to create the career, the future, the life that I want to live? And that's what I want to share with you. So when we have these, what I call self-imposed limitations, they're the ones we often don't realize are caused by ourselves rather than by other people. And there's a huge impact that this can have on your life when you have these limitations or these obstacles in place. In other words, the things that hold us back, that hinder us from moving forward. So what is that impact that it has? Number one, it's stress and impact on our health, because that feeling of being stuck creates stress. It can take a toll on our health. What does that mean? It means it can lead to exhaustion, anxiety, even burnout. And it's constant pressure on ourselves, which can drain our energy and leave us feeling depleted. So there's a big impact that can often be unseen for a long period of time on our stress levels, which directly impact our health. The second thing that I want to highlight here in terms of the adverse impact that this can create is relationships, because this pressure, this strain isn't only internal, it can spill over into your personal life. Would you agree? So perhaps, if you're really struggling at work, you're feeling under pressure, you're feeling stressed because you're not moving forward, maybe you've been overlooked again for that promotion. You're just struggling to really achieve that success that you know you're capable of and you have worked so hard for. Will that not spill into your personal life in some way? Yes or no? Let me know. And when this happens, it can impact our relationships, whether that's with family, with friends, and even with colleagues, and friends at work. So think about the impact that can have. And that frustration, that dissatisfaction at work can lead to significant disharmony as well as friction at home. So our home life gets impeded as well. So you want to really slow down to this and recognize that we can put up and shut up and just accept that this is what it is, or we can look at how can we take back control and influence the outcomes that we really want. And the other impact I want to mention here that this can have on you when we have these limitations in place that are hindering us is the impact on our confidence, on our self-esteem. Because the longer we stay in this cycle, the more it can erode your confidence as well as your self-esteem. Because if you're feeling like you're not moving forward, you're being overlooked, you're just not getting that promotion, or you're constantly going out interviewing and you're simply not being successful, that can erode your confidence. It could leave you feeling invisible, maybe unheard, and ultimately unsure of which direction to take. So all of these things are going to create a huge impact in our life and in all areas, not just professional, but also in your personal life. Because when we start to have our confidence and self-esteem eroded, that will show up in other ways in our personal life too. So there's a big, big impact here. And the question you're probably asking yourself now is, okay, well, what steps can I take to break free from these limitations that I'm subconsciously placing on myself? Well, the good news is this. Your circumstances, your situation is not set in stone. There is the opportunity to create change. And a large part of this change is created from your actions and from your mindset, both things which I talk about regularly on these lives. And if you missed them previously or you haven't been following them, they are available on my podcast, which I'll detail you later. So you do have access to training, to information, to collateral, to content online, all of which can support you with your mindset and the actions that you can take, whether that's from my content, that's from a lot of other people who talk about this too. But ultimately, you have the power to change your situation. I want to share with you today a few examples of how that can be. So number one is letting go of the fears, insecurities, and other people's opinions. Now, with regards to fears and insecurities, you first want to recognize that you hold on to them, that you have them. And by the way, we all do in some shape or form at some level. So again, you want to slow down and really be honest with yourself and ask yourself the questions that will help you to recognize what is maybe stopping you. Perhaps you're not putting yourself forward for that next opportunity. You're not applying for new jobs. You're simply staying put and putting up. And ask yourself, what is it that really is stopping you? What is the fear behind that? Or maybe what is the insecurity behind you not taking action? Because once you get clear on that, it really is time to release those, to let them go, because those are things that will hold you back from taking action. In addition, other people's opinions that I mentioned. So what can you do in terms of letting go of other people's opinions? In other words, how can you stop allowing other people to dictate the actions that you take or the desires that you want when it comes to your career and your life? Because it's very easy to be concerned, let's say, about what other people are going to say, what they're going to think. And then we live our life based on that. And ultimately, while people might say something, they really don't care because they're caught up in their own lives. So you want to do what's right for you, what makes you happy, makes you feel fulfilled, content, and living a life of success, whatever that means for you. So my invitation is to let go of other people's opinions and not have them dictate your decisions in your career path. Because These two things, so the fears, the insecurities, those two, as well as other people's opinions, they're often the big things that can limit your success. So my invitation on this is to really slow down, be honest with yourself, and get a notebook and pen and start to write down, what are the fears that you're holding on to? What are the insecurities you might have? Why do you behave in a certain way or show up in a certain way or not take action, which prevents you from being able to move forward or to take action? And what can I do to start to let go of those things? The second is challenging your self-perception. In other words, ask yourself, are the stories you're telling yourself really true? Because we all talk to ourselves in our minds or out loud. We have stories that are running constantly, and the majority of people don't even realize that they're doing so. But it's a constant thing. There's a constant story that's running, whether it's about not being good enough, not having enough experience, enough qualifications, not being ready, not being smart enough, and the list goes on. So what stories are you telling yourself that are holding you back, that are limiting you? For example, you might have applied for promotion a couple of times in your current workplace, and that's been declined. And you now decide, well, I'm not going to bother anymore because I'm just going to get declined. To go, well, that's a story. It's an assumption. And what I would invite you to do in a situation like that is to, first of all, seek feedback, seek to understand what the reasons are that you weren't successful. Is it simply that somebody had more experience or was in a stronger position than yourself or had more to bring to the table? Maybe they're better at interviewing. It could be a number of factors. It's not a personal attack on you. And therefore, what can you do differently the next time when you do apply, as opposed to just not taking action at all? And again, these are the kind of conversations that you want to be having about this with yourself, with a mentor, with a coach, someone who is objective, someone who's got your back and wants to see you win. So ask yourself, what are the stories that you are telling yourself that are not helping you? They're not really empowering you or supporting you or having you feel confident and creating certainty within yourself. What are those stories? And ask yourself, are they simply beliefs that you've created based on past experience, such as the example I've just given you, where maybe you have been rejected and then it's like, don't know if I want to put myself forward anymore because of that fear of rejection, for example. Maybe it's comments that other people have made that have been hurtful, that have been rude, that have been put me down. And so now, and that could even be from a manager, it could be someone who was hiring, but ultimately that's their view, that's their opinion. Now you can take it as constructive criticism and look at yourself. So hold the mirror up and look at, okay, what can I do differently here to improve, or seek that feedback from people? Or you can simply work on yourself, your interviewing skills, the way that you show up, your presence, your communication style, and so forth, so that you're showing up as your best self and then going for it again, putting yourself forward. You know, it's very easy when we've been knocked back on something or rejected to then feel or be left feeling inadequate or incapable or not good enough. But ultimately, you want to look for the learning in that. In other words, the learning could be, I could have done something differently or better, or how can I prepare for this the next time? What can I do? How can I have a better conversation? How can I communicate more effectively? What's actually going on in my mind when I go and have that conversation, for example, with somebody? Am I already in here being really self-critical when I'm trying to put myself forward for a promotion? Because if you are, even if you feel like you're saying the right thing, no matter what, if you're having a different conversation in here that's conflicting with what you're saying out here, energetically and in terms of the way you come across, it will get picked up in some way, even if it's just a level of uncertainty that you're conveying to other people. So you really want to slow down and become aware of what it is that's happening in here that is maybe creating these limitations for you. So those are the first two. Is number one, letting go of your fears, your insecurities, and other people's opinions. And the second is challenging your own self-perception. And again, this is something I do a lot with my clients as we do this work at a really deep level. So by all means, if you have a coach or a mentor, a manager, who's somebody who you can trust, whose opinion that you value, somebody who's got your back, and somebody who's not a friend or a relative, because they may not be honest with you. You're not someone who's going to be honest enough to help you to grow and to develop. So what is the third thing you can do here is embracing discomfort. You may have heard the term get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Why? Because growth and development rarely happens when you stay in that comfort zone. Why is that? Because we don't challenge ourselves, we don't push ourselves, we're just doing what we know, it's really comfortable and it's all good. And that's okay if you're happy with that. But if you are someone who is wanting to be to advance your career, to maybe move up that career ladder, to take on more responsibility, etc., then you want to look at that growth, and that growth will only come from taking that step into feeling uncomfortable and being okay with that, because that is where you will get to really experience your true potential. And you want to be able to have that willingness to step into a level of discomfort. And as I say, take that first baby step forwards to create change. And I want to share a very quick story here, if I may, a personal story of when I've done this, because I'm very much about walking the talk. So I will never advocate or share any like suggestions, guidance, etc., which is something I've not done or wouldn't do myself. And as you may know, my background as a qualified accountant many years ago. So I worked in finance for a number of years, and it wasn't that I disliked it. I just felt that I wanted more, and I was capable of more. And I was also lacking in confidence in myself at that time. So what did I do? I spent some time kind of doing a bit of research and doing a bit of reflection as well in terms of where I'm at, what I do like within my career at that point, what I didn't like doing, and so forth. And on the back of that, I then decided to take a huge risk and quit my career in finance and step into recruitment, into financial recruitment. And bearing in mind, when I say this was a huge risk, not only was it a risk in terms of a significant career change, so going from finance to a sales role, it was also taking a 50% pay cut. It was also about the fact that I was in the process of literally just closing on buying my first home. So moving out of my parents and setting up my own little home. So taking on a mortgage and taking that pay cut at the same time. So there was at least 3, if not many more risks in what I did. But I had that knowing in here that actually I can make this work, first of all. Secondly, what was the worst thing that could happen? It's always a great question to ask. Well, what's the worst that can really happen? And in that case, it was I can go get another role in accountancy if I feel like this isn't for me. So it's having a sensible, rational conversation rather than going into our emotions about what if, which is the whole what if it doesn't work. Because very rarely do we ask ourselves, what if it does? What opportunities could that open for us? What is possible? And those are the questions I really encourage you to spend time on, to really explore for yourself, to think, what is possible for me really? Am I happy staying where I am? Am I happy with what this is? Or do I want more? Do I want to push myself? Do I want to see what I am truly capable of? By taking a risk and taking that first baby step forward. And by the way, just to circle back on that example I shared with you, yes, I was incredibly successful. I earned more in my first year than I would have done had I stayed in my accountancy role. I was the highest biller in my first year in recruitment, and my confidence and my self-esteem soared. It was the best decision career-wise that I ever made, because it really took me from a level here where my confidence was quite low to being up here in terms of my ability to communicate more effectively, because I was put in a situation where I had to make it work. I had to start developing my relationship skills and my communication skills, my assertiveness, my confidence, and all of that to enable me to be successful in a role in recruitment. And honestly, I remember at that time looking back, and I still do now, and thinking, look at what I am capable of. Who would have thought, 10 years earlier, I would never have thought myself capable of working in sales. And actually, when I moved into the tech industry, I spent 10 years of that as a sales exec. So the point here is that when we take that step outside of our comfort zone, that's where we really get to grow and flourish and recognize what we are capable of. And that is my invitation to you, to start to get comfortable with being uncomfortable and not limit yourself to what feels okay, because that is never going to enable you to grow. And finally, I want to share with you the fourth step that you can take to let go of these limitations and to advance in your career. And that is surprise yourself. What I mean by that is similar to the previous solution around discomfort, is pushing yourself beyond your current limits. So similar to stepping out of your comfort zone, is surprising yourself. Push yourself beyond what you think you're capable of and see what happens. How will you even discover what you're capable of if you stay comfortable, if you fail to surprise yourself and see what your value is that you can bring to the table, what your capabilities and your competencies are? So look at ways that you can surprise yourself by pushing yourself even more, and trust yourself as well, more importantly, because when you trust yourself, this is where you get to surprise yourself as to what you can truly achieve. There was a colleague I had many years ago who gave me a wonderful piece of advice, and she said to me, we can achieve anything we set our minds to. We just need to apply ourselves. And ultimately, as I said at the outset, the only one who is holding you back from your career is you. That's a hard one to take on sometimes, particularly if we're going through a difficult, a really challenging situation at work. But slow down for a moment, take a step back and look at what is in your control, what you can do differently to be able to move forward or to create a difference in your career. Because you do have the power to change your current circumstances. And by letting go of those limiting beliefs, by challenging your own self-perception and being open to embracing discomfort, you get to unlock your true potential and achieve the career success that you have been striving for. So my invitation to you is to take that first step and see where it leads. Because you might just find that the only thing holding you back was that belief that you were holding on to, perhaps that you couldn't succeed. Okay, so before we wrap up today, a couple of reminders as always. If you haven't already grabbed my personal brand playbook, then do please do so today. The link will be in the comments shortly. What is the playbook? The playbook is all about basically establishing your in-person personal brand. So looking at the key 6 pillars that I believe are essential when it comes to advancing your career, to being able to stand out from the crowd and to harness your competitive advantage. So within the playbook, I detail these 6 pillars, as well as providing you with best practices that you can go away and implement immediately, and a brand audit, which you can work through to identify where your gaps are and what are the areas to focus on and prioritize in terms of development. So do grab your copy of that. And also, if you haven't done so, please head over to my YouTube channel and subscribe, where you can have access to many, many more videos similar to these lives, as well as all of the video podcasts with interviews with leaders from the technology industry who have generously shared their time, their career journeys, the hurdles and obstacles they've had to face and how they've overcome them, and ultimately showing us what is possible when it comes to advancing your career. Any questions, as always, pop them below and I will come back and answer them. Until next time, remember to harness your potential, to elevate your performance and strive towards achieving even more growth, both personally and professionally, by showing up as the best version of you. Take care, have a great rest of the week, and I will see you same time, same place next Tuesday.